And do you believe in soul's purpose, that we'll pick our destiny before we come here?
Yeah, but not in the way that most understand that. So I don't subscribe to the idea that the soul's purpose is to accomplish a laundry list of whatever's before it gets here.
Yeah, it sounds too human to me.
Yeah, it's a very it's a very human way of looking at it, which we have to honor that part. But the idea that there is some kind of spark there that wants to explore the experience of humanity and an experience of whatever version of unconditional love is available, in the pluses and the negatives of that. As humans, we put pluses and negatives on all those things, right? And yet, in the grand scheme of things, it's an experience, and it lends weight to the realization of those aspects of love. As a side joke, I often joke that mine must be patience, because I can tie just about every kind of whatever to that word, right? And yet patience in some form is a recognition of unconditional love, so what version of that a soul has decided to explore, or the talent that's deep within there of that aspect or that perspective of creation that it's expressing. I mean, I think those are more the purposes than some kind of, whatever, because honestly, there's a there's a his name is Mike. He's like a semi-homeless personality in my area. He lives in a small trailer. He rides his bike. He's just him, he pops in late on Sundays and asks us all to go on hikes. you know, he showed up at his wife passed about 5 years ago. She was kind of like him. They have a very interesting history. He's musical. He's got only like a couple teeth left in his mouth. He's a character and a half. And when you have people like that, they're like, well, what kind of purpose is that? And yet yesterday, he has another friend. I don't know his name, but he knew him, and we were at a music festival. It's a hometown one, and there's this little barn, and there was this gentleman in there. He's kind of like a one-man band. He was the one that was on at the time, where you record something, you hit a button and it plays it over, and he records something, that kind of one-man band. So he's doing all of this, and people were just kind of coming in and out. You could tell he felt kind of down. That it was raining, so the attendance was not what it normally is, right? It's 50 degrees and raining. This guy had come from Chicago. You could tell he's kind of down because there's like 5 people in the barn. But he was good. So we stayed and we listened. And then Mike noticed me, and he come over and sat next to me, and he's like telling me about how he couldn't come yesterday because he drank too much beer the day before. Whatever he's saying. And this other guy comes in that he knew, carrying his 2 little grocery bags full of stuff. So he must be some kind of semi-transient too. I don't know. I had not seen him before, right? With all his little water bottles and stuff, and sits him down. He's got these big baggy overalls. He comes over and gives Mike a big hug, shakes my hand, shakes my son's hand. My son's like, do you know that guy? I'm like, never saw him before. He must know Mike because he gave Mike a hug. We got handshakes. So, and then he went to the front of where these people are, and in these big baggy overalls he had on, he starts pulling out, he's got this shaker, it's making noise, he's got these clackers, he starts dancing around. He pulled some 20-some-year-old girl off her chair to dance with them. And all of a sudden these people started floating in the barn, right? And the guy, that you could tell he was kind of frustrated because he had driven from Chicago, which is like a, I don't know, 8-hour drive or something. I mean, he came a long way to get here, and it's raining, and there's 5 people listening to his set. All of a sudden, there's these semi-homeless people start dancing and doing clackers, and pulling people off their chairs, and all these people started floating in, and my son's laughing. He's like the greatest. And then the musician, I mean, he came out and he did like a whole extra set with this harmonica and was dancing with them. And the whole thing shifted until there was like from 5 people to 50 people in this barn, just because of this willingness to smile and be totally himself, totally, standing up in the middle of the barn, pulling clacker things out of his pockets, just because he was going to have a good time at a music festival. And who's to say that wasn't his entire purpose, was that 10 minutes? And the rest of his time is a complete beautiful experience, and he's one, I mean, of the whole planet, those two, as much as sometimes people want to walk away from Mike and stuff, just because of his appearance, they changed the whole system around there. It was just night and day from the time before they got there and when my son and I had to leave. And by this time, and the band that was on after him was not coming, so he ended up doing a double set, and by the time we left, it was a complete blown out party in the place. Maybe, who knows, who knows? I guess that's my point. What do we know what the real purpose is? And really, maybe, I don't know, but maybe those 10-15 minutes that we shared with him was part of that purpose. And I don't even know his name.